Tonight, new legal problems for Donald Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, and that could make things very dicey for the president. Former federal prosecutor Roland Riopel is here to help us sort it out. Also, people in our area may know the name Jeanine Pirro, from when she was Westchester's DA and also failed Senate candidate in New York. Now, she's on Fox News and she's aggressively pushing the president to even consider her as the next attorney general. We're getting into that tonight. And then we'll take a look at the Supreme Court and how 9 justices could have a huge impact on the upcoming elections, as well as millions of voters. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you very much for joining us this Wednesday night. Well, tonight we start with an attorney who needs some new attorneys. I'm not just talking about any attorney. I'm talking about Michael Cohen, the man who was President Trump's personal attorney for years. Multiple reports say Cohen, he's fired his legal team as things heat up with prosecutors. That's leading to some rampant speculation that Cohen could cooperate with the feds. Michael Avenatti, the lawyer for Stormy Daniels and thorn in the side of President Trump, says he knew this would happen. Hear his tweet. For those keeping track, approximately 57 days ago, I predicted that Mr. Cohen would be arrested and indicted within 90 days. I also stated it would pose a serious problem for one Mr. Trump. By the way, Cohen's business partner has already flipped, and he's agreed to assist the government in federal and state investigations. Also, other reports are saying Cohen telling friends he could soon be arrested. Cohen has not been charged with anything as of yet, but the feds are pouring through documents seized when the FBI raided his office, home, as well as hotel room a couple months ago. They are looking at his business dealings, among other things. Also, that infamous $130,000 payment to one Stormy Daniels will also be scrutinized. Joining us now to get into this and more, former federal prosecutor Roland Riopel. Roland, as always, my friend, thank you for the time. And let's start off
great to be here, Richard.
With our friend, Mr. Cohen. I've heard 2 different accounts of this. One is he's getting ready to play ball with the feds, and the other is this is a trial balloon that's going out there just to see what Trump will say and maybe an indication. Don't worry, Michael, I got a pardon waiting in my top drawer. How did you read the developments of today?
You know, Richard, based on my experience, I read it as Mr. Cohen has run out of the money necessary to pay a large multinational firm's fee and many people at that firm's fee. And this is really a money thing, I think. And I think what we'll see is he will go one of 2 directions, and he'll be directed by one of 2 sets of lawyers. He'll either be directed by Jake Goldberg, who is Trump's longtime in-house consigliere and a protege of Roy Cohen, by the way, in which case, if that is the person who is referring the next round of lawyers to Mr. Cohen, I think that's an indication that he's going to stand up through the end and hope for a pardon, or he's going to be directed to a former assistant U.S. attorney, has a good relationship with a Southern District type lawyer by McDermott, Will, and Emery, and that's going to be a signal that he's getting ready to cooperate, in my opinion.
Remind everybody, Roland, what kind of things, and I know this is circumspect, what kind of things could Cohen have that probably wouldn't be protected by attorney-client privilege that could be a potential nightmare for the president?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to know where to begin. I mean, the real estate transactions and attempted transactions with Russians right on the eve of the election, you know, Cohen was right in the middle of that, and that may be real heartache for Trump. The whole Stormy Daniels thing and the election law crimes that may amount to, that could be trouble for Trump. The Playboy Bunny, I'm blanking on the name, he knows all about that. That could be trouble for Trump. And so few of the documents that the government seized are apparently privileged in any way that there's probably a trove of stuff in there that we don't even have any idea what it is yet. And time will tell.
Well, let's start with the Trump family, but go down that tree here. Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner, as they know, they work at the White House. They're not getting paid here. They say they have advisory roles, but we shouldn't exactly pass around the collection plate for them. They're still raking in huge amounts of outside money. Financial disclosure filings show they made more than $80 million just last year. Ivanka made $4 million for her stake in Trump International Hotel in Washington, and the couple is earning millions from their ownership stakes in companies that operate both here and in foreign countries. Their attorneys say, hey, they followed all the federal ethics rules, but many experts disagree. They say that they've violated the emoluments clause, among other things. Is this, in your eyes, Roland, just tacky or possibly criminal?
I think it's really, really tacky at a minimum, and it's certainly something that is potentially criminal. I mean, if these two persons who are very influential in the White House were able to influence White House policy in exchange for some of the millions that they got, they're going to be in real trouble. That's a classic bribery type case. And it may not be that hard to make. I mean, you know, look at the big payments that came to Jared Kushner from Qatar and how the administration changed its policy with respect to Qatar at about the same time. If there's a way to link those two and show that Jared was lobbying for a change in the policy toward Qatar, at the same time he was getting millions of dollars in investment from Qatar that he desperately needed, that's an easy federal case to make. And it sounds like there are so many examples of payments coming from foreign countries to Ivanka and Jared that could be linked potentially to changes in policy. This is going to be an investigation of them that's going to go on for years.
And don't forget, of course, about that Washington hotel right on Pennsylvania Avenue, and the not so subtle hints. If you want to get in a meeting here, you better stay there. All right, I want to get to the Mueller investigation and outside or external influences. To that, there's a couple things going on, and I'm curious your opinion. One is apparently there's some pressures from Mueller, even Republican Mueller supporters, and we'll put that within qualifications, but also public polling that says enough already. Let's see what you got here. How much of it all does that influence the investigation or the timing of the investigation or the pressure rolling to produce something?
My sense is that for Mr. Mueller, not very much. I think he is one of these guys, and you know, they are rare, who simply tunes out the press, tunes out the outside world, and does his job the best way he can to the best of his ability. And I don't think outside pressure from anybody is really going to influence him. Now, again, you know, we've just seen a new indictment, including an indictment of a Russian, this Mr. Kalimnik, who is apparently involved in trying to influence the campaign and whatnot. He's going to show his cards as he decides it is strategically wise to do it. I don't think he's going to be pressured by anybody, Republican, Democrat, or Independent, with respect to the timing of this report.
It's my sense that if he produces a report that has some of the substance that I believe most, including yourself, believe it is, any kind of frustrations over timing will disappear and everyone will go into the substance. Finally, you had
that's right. I think that's right.
Tell everybody what it means when you have the Deputy AG, Rod Rosenstein, apparently asking the investigators to be investigated, and more specifically Devin Nunez himself. Why is that significant? We all know that Nunez has basically, you know, been pontificating in front of every camera he can. He's been proven to be a farce even by the House Ethics Committee. That all said, what did it tell you that Rosenstein apparently had enough to the point where he said, let's start an investigation on you?
Yeah, I think this is clearly a shot across the bow to the members of Congress who have kind of been lining up behind Mr. Congressman Nunez to, you know, trumpet his, frankly, every time he says something, it's proven to be a dud. within hours of the time he says it. And I think his claims of corruption at the Department of Justice and the FBI, I think Mr. Rosenstein is just fed up with it. And now, Nunez has over and over again asked for investigations of the DOJ by the Inspector General's office. And this is now tit for tat, where he is asking Congress itself to investigate Nunez and his behavior. And it has been obstructive of the investigation. So this is a kind of tit for tat thing, a shot across the bow to let Congress know he's had enough.
And finally, before I let you go, this just came in since it's gone to air. Apparently, Rudy, and I don't know what we read into these things, but now he's saying once again that Trump wants to talk to Mueller. What do you make of it, given the timing and all the contrarian things that he doesn't even have to respect a subpoena? He could even pardon himself. Now he's saying the president wants to talk to Mueller. Dangerously, albeit, I ask you, read the tea leaves here.
I think this is just Rudy finding a way to steal the cameras away from the Michael Cohen issue, which has probably got Trump scared to death. I think the chances that Trump will actually ever talk to Mueller are pretty near zero. And I think this is just Rudy trying to get the cameras to focus on him so we spend less time talking about Michael Cohen and what a problem that is for Trump. He's just stealing the news cycle, that's all.
And speaking of which, poor Roland, every week there's just more of this fire hose of just controversy. One day we'll get to talk about something other than the latest scandal du jour.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you about Jeanine Pirro. That sounds like a crazy one.
I think I'll say enough for all of us, but thank you, Roland. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And speaking to that, when we come back, Jeanine Pirro now reportedly angling to become the next Attorney General. She's trashing Jeff Sessions on Fox News here, and she's a good buddy to the president. I'll tell you a little behind-the-scenes stuff and why, even by this administration, that would be a frightening appointment. That after this.